Having been a blues and blues rock player in the 1970s, in the early 80s I joined a rock band called Mendes Prey. It was the time of the new wave of British heavy metal, and we found ourselves right in the thick of it. There were lots of bands like us back then. We had grown up with the classic rock of the late 60s and the 1970s and now wanted to put our own spin on it. But as with any movement, only a few of the players in the game emerge through the fog and rise to success. Two of the biggest winners were Iron Maiden and Def Leppard. I remember seeing an ad in the back of the Melody Maker for Iron Maiden seeking a new guitarist. That was well before they hit the big time. And I also recall hearing a fledgling Def Leppard on Tommy Vance's rock show. It was just a year or so after this that Mendes Prey released a single, Onto the Borderline, backed with a track called Running for You. We didn't have any kind of deal, so with some generous local sponsorship, it was put out on our own label, MP Records. Fortune then smiled on us, because in quick succession, another track of ours that had been featured on a compilation album called Heavy Metal Heroes Volume 2 was picked up by Levi's Jeans and used in a radio commercial. That track was called What the Hell, and it earned us a sponsorship with Levi's, which saw us head out on a club and university tour, followed by some dates at the Marquee Club and a spot on BBC TV. We had all the trappings of the genre, including the hair, the tight shiny trousers and the Japanese print t-shirts, and while we did enjoy a modicum of success, we never landed the prize that everyone was chasing, a deal with one of the major record labels. That was the case when we disbanded in 1986. Mendes Prey looked like fading into oblivion. But fast forward to the arrival of the internet, and interest began to emerge once again in the new wave of British heavy metal. Many bands reunited to great success. Festivals were held, and collectors eagerly sought out original pressings of NWOBHM vinyl. To satisfy the growing demand over the next few years, new record labels were established, and one of the most prominent and successful of these labels was called No Remorse Records. Based in Athens, Greece, No Remorse not only championed new and upcoming bands, but also sourced and released previously unheard recordings. And so it was that in 2015, No Remorse tracked down Mendes Prey. We signed contracts and they released The Never Ending Road, a collection of previously unheard demo recordings. The album sold out very quickly, and in recent years, the only way to obtain a copy has been through eBay or a specialist dealer. And now, in the wake of that success, No Remorse has re-released the album with a few changes, including the addition of more previously unheard recordings. To mark the occasion, I thought I would revisit one of the tunes and make a tutorial. And one of the best candidates for this, in terms of a guitar player's tune, is a track called I Beg for Mercy. It's got a fairly simple riff, some twin guitar and a guitar solo. I didn't give a second thought to recreating these parts and making a lesson of it. I thought it would be a breeze to reproduce it in GarageBand. But the first eye-opener came when I started to tab out the riff and found that it was weirdly off the beat when it began, something that I would have been oblivious to back in the day. And the second shock came when I had to recreate the guitar solo. Spending most of my guitar time these days covering Page, Clapton, Kossoff and other greats, I thought that one of my NWOBHM solos from 40 years ago would be a piece of cake. But I couldn't have been more mistaken. Back in the day with Mendes Prey, I played very differently to how I do today. In keeping with the style of the time, my playing was detailed and very fiddly. When I Beg for Mercy was recorded in 1984, It was done as part of a speedy demo session where we laid down about 7 or 8 tunes in total. The guitar solo was done right at the end of the day, late in the evening, and I think it was done in one take, or certainly no more than 2. But this time round, trying to recreate the 22-year-old me, I had to give myself about 22 takes. The tricky part is the long passage at the beginning where it winds down from the top E to the bottom E. And almost equally as tricky is the playing right at the top of the neck. I'm sure none of it would be difficult for today's breed of shredders, but when you are an old school rocker like me, it is. First we'll hear the solo as it was originally recorded, and then I'll try to recreate it.